I have a disabling chronic illness. These are some books that have made me feel validated or reflected my experiences in some way. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. She is a young, chronically ill Black British woman who makes a list of tasks that will help her get a life. I have such a soft spot for this romance because not only is it amazing, Talia Hibbert writes my favorite banter ever. It was the first time I saw a chronically ill character, let alone a chronically ill woman of color, who gets to fall in love and thrive alongside her illness. Isn't magically better by the end of the book? Reading this actually made me feel very vulnerable and exposed because of its accuracy. It really depicted the inconsistencies of my life, where some days I can go out dancing and some days I'm too sick to stand. Read this if you're looking for an excellent rom-com, if you don't mind some spice, and if you're wanting to better emotionally support the chronically ill people in your life. Between Two Kingdoms, this memoir is about a young Tunisian, Swiss, American woman who is going through a cancer diagnosis when she's only 23. This is not technically a disability book, but I did find it very relatable, particularly the feelings around being sick as a very young person, not being able to do the things that I used to be able to do, the feelings of grief and mourning a healthier version of yourself, free time that isn't really free. This is also just a really well-written memoir, and it's one of the most honest portrayals of illness that I've ever seen. Read this if you like emotional and vulnerable writing. You're an AC. This novel follows a person living in a house with endless rooms. They don't know their name, they don't know how long they've been living there, but the house provides everything they need. The author of this novel lives with chronic pain, and I read the entire novel as a metaphor for chronic illness. It felt very true to my experience of living in a sick body, in a home that is beautiful and feels like mine, despite being cruel and often unpredictable. This book has a very, very slow start, but once you get past the beginning scene setting, it's incredible. It won the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2021. Read this if you like mysterious, mythical stories, deliberate pacing, and an innocent narrator you can't help but love. The Invisible Kingdom. This is a chronic illness memoir and narrative nonfiction, and a little bit of a mystery. It follows our author's search for a diagnosis to explain her many autoimmune systems, while she investigates chronic illness more broadly through research and interviews. She gets into the messiness of illness, the not knowing what to try next, the incredible faith we have to place in doctors even when they don't seem to trust us back, how emotionally taxing the whole process is. She uses research and interviews to show how people with invisible illnesses are falling through the cracks and how our medical system is not offering solutions. I beg you to read this if you have or love someone with an invisible illness, if you're interested in a medical mystery, or if you're curious about exploring the flaws in our healthcare system. 7 Days in June. This is another romance novel. It follows a Black single mother who's also a successful author. She reconnects with a man she hasn't seen in decades. The main character in this novel shares my diagnosis. We have very different experiences, but the way she describes her pain and symptoms felt very accurate. We even take some of the same medications. This is also just a very good book. For a romance novel especially, it is gritty and raw and sad and devastating, but also hopeful and really funny at times. Read this if you are a literary fiction reader who wants to dip their toes into romance. You like a bookish Easter egg. If you like your romances grounded and realistic. A reminder as always that you are not well read if you're not reading diversely. Follow me for more diverse book recs.